Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's show. And if you are joining for the first time, this is part of our industry series for which we meet every Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern. We pick one vendor or the solution and we review that independently. And along with that, we have a bunch of stories related to ERP and digital transformation that we cover on a weekly basis. For today, we have a very exciting vendor called Rootstock. And you may not have heard of this, but if you are part of the Salesforce ecosystem, I'm sure you know them because they are very well known in the Salesforce ecosystem. So we are going to review how they are overall in terms of their ERP capabilities. Before we do that, we are going to start with everybody's intro. I am going to start with my intro. If you don't know me, I am Sam Gupta. I am principal at Elevate IQ. I've been leading ERP and digital transformation engagements for roughly 20-ish years. We have done a lot of work in the Salesforce ecosystem. Rootstock, we have come across in several locations, not a lot, because they are not the primary ERP vendor. As part of the Elevate IQ, we are an independent ERP and digital transformation consulting firm, and we help our clients with the ERP selection, ERP contract negotiation, business process re-engineering, enterprise architecture, business architecture, as well as the ERP implementation. On that note, I am going to move to Phil for his intro.
Hi, Sam. Hi, everybody. Phil Kerper with Ringling Business Solutions here in Wisconsin coming to you. Hopefully everybody's doing good today. At Ringling, we help executive leadership teams align their core business processes with digital transformation. I come from several decades in the C-suite, been involved in a lot of ERP implementations, certainly familiar with Salesforce and familiar with this platform as well. So looking forward to it, Sam.
Okay, amazing. Thank you so much for being here, Phil. Dave, can I ask you to introduce yourself next?
Sure. Thanks, Sam. Hello, everybody. My name's Dave Chrysler, and I own an operations consulting business working with leaders in the manufacturing, construction, and cannabis spaces to help them create the systems they need to grow their business. And I come to you with more than 20 years in manufacturing operations, helping to implement many ERP systems. So thanks for having me, Sam.
Okay, amazing. Thank you so much for being here, Dave. Andy, can I ask you to introduce yourself next?
Thank you, Sam. My name's Andy Pratico. I've been involved in ERP software for manufacturers for 4 decades. I've worked all over North America. I've worked with about 1,000 manufacturers, I think, in my career. And I've also seen a lot of failures. So I wrote a book on helping companies how to evaluate and uncover the truth about ERP system before they buy. Thank you so much for inviting me, Sam.
Okay, amazing. Thank you so much for being here, Andy. And before we start with the first story for today, if you are joining in the audience for the first time, we review your comments and questions. We are going to be addressing them during the session as we move along. So make sure you are going to be posting your comments. If we cannot get to them during the session, we'll make sure that we will be our panelists will make sure that they are going to get back to you after the session. On that note, I am going to start with the first story, and the story is coming from our friends at Epicor. And Epicor, as we know, every session that we have done so far, they seem to be acquiring a lot of companies. And, what they are doing right now is, they are really trying to fill those strategic holes in their portfolio to become the enterprise software company the way other companies are. For example, let's say if you look at Infor has the complete suite, whether you want to build the best of breed architecture or whether you want to, get just the ERP suite. They have offerings for many different customers. Every customers are going to have different needs. That's exactly what Appicore is trying to replicate, especially under the new PE management, which is a very positive sign. I really like the way Appicore is acquiring the companies right now. There are 3 companies in the market that are really aggressive at this point of time with respect to their acquisition strategy. Number 1 is going to be Appicore. Number 2 is going to be Aptean. And number 3 is going to be ECI. Okay. Appicore and Aptean, it seems like they sort of know what they are doing. Aptean, I'm not too sure. We'll discuss that. The next story is from Aptean. So in case of Appicore, what they have done is they have acquired a company that actually does the analytics. Okay. And this is going to be slightly more no code, low code analytics. And in this particular case, the company name is Grow Incorporation. So the whole idea of this add-on is going to be, before this, what Appicore used to do is they used to partner with a bunch of partners. They are going to be doing a lot of BI on top of Appicore. That's going to be dollars for every customer that they go for. Now, what they can do is they can have the pre-built data analytics on top of your ERP. So you are going to have the ERP reports. You might have 200, 500,000 reports, depending upon the size of the ERP system. Appicore is a decent size system, so obviously you are going to get tons and tons of reports. But typically, when you are doing any sort of analytical development on top of your ERP reports, that's typically going to be very expensive. And these tools, such as Grow Incorporation or Tableau or Power BI, these tools make it easier for your in-house developers to be able to build the analytics layer that does not impact your operational layer. So in this particular case, they are going to have a lot of pre-built workflows, and then you can combine multiple data sets. I'm pretty sure Grow Incorporation is actually going to have that capability. So not only you are going to get ERP data, but you're also going to get the other data. So now the offering is going to be far richer overall, from the offering perspective. Infor was already doing this. They already had Burst as part of their portfolio. At every vendor, you talk about SAP, Oracle, the major ones. They all have some sort of BI tool as part of their portfolio. Appicore was the only one who did not own the BI tool. So now they have the BI tool as well. So in this particular case, Grow's low code BI product, is aimed at average business users. Obviously, that's a sales pitch, but seems like it's easier than other BI tools. That's what they are trying to claim. And although it has capabilities for more complex data analysis by data scientists, it combines data integrations, data warehousing, and visualization tools that enable users to create analytics reports. For data sources, Grow includes more than 150 pre-built data connectors. And these are going to be the data connectors that are going to be touching your third-party system. It could be your WMS, it could be your HCM, it could be your CRM, depending upon where you are getting the data from. They probably would have all the popular ones. But this is not going to feed anything inside your ERP. This is only for study, okay? Just for the study, you need tons and tons of data. So this is going to be pre-built, pre-populated. So obviously that is going to make the Appicore offering richer. They had another offering that they used to sell, but that was partner owned, as clearly pointed out in this story. So they are saying that EDA, a cloud-based analytics tool built by BI vendor Focus, that's what they used to sell. But again, that's going to be another vendor, another contract. So now this is going to be much easier for the customers. It is cloud native. That's what every vendor is going for. We have seen that in case of Bright Pearl that Sage acquired. Every single acquisition that we are seeing, nobody's acquiring any legacy vendors unless they are acquiring them to kill to gain the market share. But it's very rare to see the acquisition for the legacy vendor. It's that cloud native space is what everybody is trying to grab, even though their underlying offering, the original ERP offering, may not be as cloud native. So here, the low code ease of use is a huge advantage. That's what they are saying. You don't necessarily need a SQL developer, but again, I think the way these platforms are constructed, you probably would require some sort of SQL knowledge, but they are easy to pick up. Again, any sort of analytical tools are probably easier for most, business analysts, financial analysts. They can easily figure that out as opposed to messing up with your ERP system and the master data. And some of the analysts mentioned here, they are really agreeing with this, that no, I mean, this is the place. The couple of things that they mentioned, and obviously Eric Kimberling's name is mentioned here. He's a top analyst, no questions about that. And he has mentioned 3 different trends. Move to best of breed system. That's right. That's the trend that we are seeing in the ERP industry. Evolution of low code application, not too sure. In some cases that may be applicable, but not for everything. Low code has a place, but not everywhere. And increasing focus on data and analytics, I think that could be all over the place as well. But I do agree with the move to best of breed systems. What else is mentioned here? No, I think that's pretty much it. Do you guys have any comments? I can take those or move to the next one.
I think it's interesting that Cindy Jutras is saying, it's great that they can embed their applications for smaller companies, but then not so much for customers that decided to go with the bigger BI names like Tableau. I mean, why does that discount them not using Epicor's new tool?
So here is my take on this. So when you have the pre-built workflows, and even though however easy they make it sound that this is going to be business developers that are going to be doing this and this is going to be a no-code tool, you still need that, you should be able to analyze the requirements. You should be able to figure out, okay, what data you are trying to retrieve, how you are trying to retrieve. So when you have this all pre-built, you don't have to put that work. And that's a lot of savings for companies that typically what they do is after they implement ERP, the only thing they do is write the analytical code in the reports or in the spreadsheet or whatever they might be using. So in my opinion, I think that's a huge value if they can do the pre-built workflows, pre-built dashboards, that can be easily modifiable. And, your dashboards are going to be far more easily modifiable than your ERP reports in general. Phil, you had a comment.
Yeah, it was kind of related to that. The low code thing, it's almost, we covered a lot last week. It's almost to the point of a buzzword that you're not sure if it really has meaning. It sounds great, but developing BI, and this looks like a great idea. I think this is an excellent move for them, but you still, to your second point though, you still have to lay your process flow of what information you're trying to get and what you want it to look like when it comes to the dashboard. And that can be done on a very advanced spreadsheet, or it can be done on a planner, but you still got to get that plan done in order to make Tableau or any of these work. And I'm not sure where low code fits into that conversation, to be real honest with you.
Well, so typically the low code conversation is going to be here, if you want to build these reports or the analytical dashboard, then you need to know at least the SQL language. Right? So you need to hire the SQL developers who can develop these dashboards. So now the low code conversation is going to be easier. In case of BI, low code is useful. And the reason for that is irrespective of how much damage your business users are going to do in the dashboard, you are not hurting anybody. The maximum what could happen is your analytics is going to be wrong. That's okay. Okay, at least you are not actually killing your ERP. Because if you are going to do this in ERP and they don't know what they are doing, you will end up re-implementing your ERP because they are going to mess up with your master data. And once you actually touch your master data, we all know how that goes. So that's why.
That's an excellent distinction. That is really a worthwhile distinction, Sam.
Amazing. All right, guys. Do you guys have any other comments? Andy, you have any follow-up comments there? No? Okay. All right, so I'm actually going to move to the next story. And the next story is actually coming from our friends at Aptean. And we just discussed Aptean. I'm still not sure what Aptean is doing. Maybe they have figured out their strategy. But they seem to be going in the reverse direction of every other company that we have in the market, which is okay, if you are really going to have play in that, because maybe they figured out, what? I will not be able to compete with Infor. I will not be able to compete with Epicor. So how about I do exactly opposite to what these companies are doing? So what Aptean has done, and if you followed the Infor story, we all know what Infor had done. After Coke acquired the Infor, they had spun off their EAM product, which was one of the top selling product for Infor. One of the most successful, brilliant product. It was rated really well by the analyst. But Coke, obviously, they were very smart that, they wanted to be an ERP company. They didn't want to be an edge company because there is a difference. There is a distinction. Now, company as big as Infor, obviously, they want to go for larger deals. They don't want to go for these tiny patches where they are partnering with the other enterprise software companies. But here, in case of Aptin, what they have done exactly opposite to what Infor had done. Meaning they have launched their CMMS product, EAM product in 2022. Can you believe this? Okay. So today, Aptin, a global provider of mission-critical enterprise software solutions, announced the launch of Aptin EAM, an all-new cloud-based enterprise asset management. Now, here through a single platform to manage work orders, automate approvals, track spare parts inventory. Again, very standard EAM functionality. Schedule preventative, maintenance, assign appropriately skilled labor, and conduct mobile compliance inspection. The system simplicity supports rapid deployment while the user-friendly interface promotes high user adoption. Here they are also saying that the intuitive and modern user interface simplifies maintenance operations and gives plant supervisors real-time visibility into work. Again, nothing special. This is the standard EAM functionality. Now, let's think from the Aptin's perspective. Maybe they did not really have the EAM, as part of their portfolio, and they are also trying to integrate all of these products together. The way Epicor is approaching the market, the way Infor is approaching the market. So maybe they didn't have that. As we know from Aptin's session, their target market is that food and beverage, the process verticals. That's what they like to go after. They have a lot of presence there. Products do really well, especially two of them, Aptin ROS, Aptin Process Pro. And I think, Andy, if I remember correctly, just for food or just food? What is the name of that?
Just food. Yeah.
Just food or something like that. Yeah. So that is another one. And I think that is the add-on on top of Microsoft Business Central. But overall, they really like to go after those GTC and food and beverage vertical. That's where they are trying to create the market. So now EAM, when you think about this product, it's a very deep manufacturing product. It's a very, EAM is typically used in very discrete centric situations. They are also used in the food and beverage sector, larger ones. I'm not sure if the smaller ones are going to be using this a lot. So it's a very interesting move that they are launching the EAM. And I don't know if their goal is going to be to integrate or focus more on the mid-to-managed product, or really this is for the food and beverage vertical. But this is a very interesting move. They got, I think WMS, TMS recently. Now they have EAM. So obviously they are trying to fill all the holes in their portfolio as well. I can take any comments on this story if you guys have anything. Otherwise, I can move to the next one. Okay, so the next one is coming from our friends at Zoho. And I don't think we have covered Zoho so far. So the right place for Zoho is going to be, they were primarily the, accounting software like QuickBooks, but they had very large presence in the small to medium size HCM sector. Okay, so the way you have Workday, Zoho was really present in that SMB sector for HCM, payroll. They had really good CRM. It's a copycat, to be honest, okay, from Salesforce for much cheaper price. Salesforce obviously going to cost a lot more, but Zoho is much cheaper. It has similar feel. If you are going to switch from, let's say, Salesforce to HubSpot, the transition is going to be far more. But if you switch, let's say, from Zoho to Salesforce or Salesforce to Zoho, the experience is going to feel very, very similar. Okay, so that's why companies like Zoho CRM a lot, to be honest, especially the ones that cannot afford Salesforce. So what Zoho is trying to do, Zoho is trying to create the similar impact as Odoo in the market. Odoo has all of these apps, and these guys believe that the world is going to be of many different apps, and they use a term called composable ERP. Typically, that is used in the best of breed architecture when we are talking about these large companies who can afford to spend a lot of dollars on integration, because the integration itself is a massive lift. It costs millions and millions of dollars to be able to do integration when you are doing, let's say, ERP WMS. It could be very heavy lift depending upon how much you are trying to integrate. The degree of integration matters as well. If you're simply trying to extract one KPI, no big deal. Okay, but if you are doing the whole integration, that's a very heavy development. So what Zoho is trying to do, Zoho is trying to create the similar impact as your Odoo. Odoo has a lot of different apps. They claim that they are all integrated, and the smaller to medium-sized businesses are going to get a lot more apps, as part of the platform that, startup founders, especially if they are going to have programming background, can easily use. But in case of Zoho has created a new creator platform. So the creator platform, their claim is that, there are going to be two kind of platforms in the no-code space. One is going to be very IT focused. The second is going to be very business focused. Okay, you don't sort of have the blend of both. And IT processes, if you actually look at the core development processes, okay, if you're doing any sort of integration development on top of your ERP platform as well, you need to make sure that you are following IT processes. Otherwise, it's going to fire back. Okay, there is a reason why IT processes exist, because they have been designed to support your enterprise grade systems. I mean, it's not just a website that you are trying to create. The enterprise systems have far more implications overall on your infrastructure, on your company. So here, IT typically goes through a release process, the DevOps process, the testing process that you need to go through when you have this massive code base, even if it is going to be the integration code base. So what Zoho has done, Zoho is trying to create the no-code platform that is going to have both the flavors. It is going to have the business flavors. It is also going to have the IT flavors. So here they are saying the Zoho announced the latest version of low-code offering, Zoho Creator Platform, and all-in-one solution that bridges the gap between business users and IT teams. Existing solutions in the market designed specifically for business users facilitate only basic app building, lacking the complexity needed to develop end-to-end tools, which will allow organizations to scale and ensure centralized governance, which is a key process. Again, Zoho's market is not the enterprise market, right? It's playing in a very small business. They don't really have as much funds to be able to develop, but they are trying to bring the governance piece, which is exciting, but I don't know how much development capabilities they are going to have in that small space. So here they are saying Zoho Creator Platform supports all levels to build, manage, integrate, and analyze for a complete low-code experience, enabling 10x faster development than any other solution. Okay, any other solution, if you're comparing with probably programming languages, obviously, it is probably going to be faster. But overall, again, for a small business, doing this much of development, especially if you are going to have other solutions that are going to be offered out of the box, I don't see a reason why you would be developing on Zoho or Odoo. I just don't see any reason. But this is there, for the customers. Let's say if they want to utilize, they are saying currently there isn't a low-code solution on the market that allows both business users and IT to truly build end-to-end business solutions. Here they are saying Zoho's Creator Platform combines application development, integrations, process automation, business intelligence, and analytics into a single platform, while simultaneously enabling IT teams to effortlessly manage security, compliance, governance challenges. Here, Phil, we were reviewing the no-code BI aspect from Apicor. Now, these guys are saying you can do business intelligence as part of this platform. You don't need a second platform. I don't know how true that is. And also, we are going to review Rootstock today. Rootstock has one of the best no-code platform. The way no-code is supposed to be designed. Okay, every single ERP vendor out there is going to claim that, I am very platform centric. I am very developer friendly. Okay, but if I am really impressed with the no-code capabilities of any platform, that is probably going to be Rootstock. Sorry. Even Acumatica claims that, their development platform is super friendly, but you need a developer to be able to develop on Acumatica. There is no way business users can pull it off. But today we are going to review the screens, how the no-code platform really looks from the business user perspective. I think Salesforce has done that really well. And obviously, Rootstock is built on top of Salesforce. And that is probably the reason why everybody likes Salesforce, as well as to some degree Rootstock as well. Okay. If you guys have any comment, I can take those, or I can move to the briefing session for us. Okay, I'm not hearing anything. So Rootstock has a very, very, very interesting story. Okay, obviously they are part of the Salesforce ecosystem. We all know that every vendor out there is trying to create their own sort of, guarded architecture, the guarded ecosystem. Their goal is going to be to make sure that they are able to sell a lot more Salesforce licenses. So obviously Salesforce has their own way of funding the company in their ecosystem. Salesforce has something called Salesforce Ventures. They are always funding developers, the apps, the marketplace, that can come up with the innovative ideas so that companies don't move from the Salesforce ecosystem. Now, obviously, Salesforce ecosystem is very crowded as well. There is no question about that. There is a lot of overlap overall in terms of how the apps are designed, what options are available inside Salesforce ecosystem. Some of the ERP solutions that we have as part of the Salesforce ecosystem is going to be number one, the bigger one, the Financial Force. That is a much bigger company than your Rootstock. Financial Force they position themselves as ERP, and Financial Force actually competes, head to head with companies like Workday as well as SAP. If they are looking for a financial solution, meaning purely from the financial perspective. So these are going to be the companies that are going to be, let's say, in the professional services space, or the companies that don't require the core inventory, the MRP, the operational functionality that is going to be part of your legacy, the traditional ERP. So those are going to be the companies that choose solutions such as Workday, which has the HCM and your financials combined. You have Financial Force, where you get one of the best CRM, Salesforce plus Financial Force, which is actually going to do your accounting. When you are going to be using, let's say, Salesforce plus SAP, obviously SAP's goal is going to be to cut Salesforce loose. So obviously Salesforce is going to make sure that nobody gets in their deal, and that's why they have created the financial solution called Financial Force. Now, Rootstock's journey has always been in the form of an MRP solution. They started as the MRP solution on top of Salesforce. They never wanted to compete, let's say, with Financial Force, because Financial Force already had the accounting functionality. Also, there is another company in the mix called Compliance Quest, and they are very, very, very deep in quality, compliance, and any of the regulatory standards. In fact, they are much bigger company than Rootstock. Okay, so they do very heavy compliance for the companies that are going to be in the Salesforce ecosystem. For example, pharma, med device, they utilize Compliance Quest a lot, because Salesforce is going to have that key CRM functionality that they require to make sure that if I have a medical device, let's say if I'm allowed to sell in the US, but I am not allowed to sell in Japan, I want to make sure that I am able to limit that as part of my CRM functionality. Now that becomes a very critical. Now these are FDA regulations that you have to comply with as part of your configure CPQ process. So that's part of your CRM functionality that you need to comply with. So obviously Compliance Quest plays a very important role, because these processes are going to be inbuilt as part of your CRM functionality, but they do carry over in your operational and the other functionality that you are going to use. So Compliance Quest is used a lot in the medical device, in the pharma space. Now, what Salesforce is trying to do, they want to make sure that their ISVs are not competing with each other, right? So obviously Rootstock did not develop the financial functionality for a very long time. So if you actually want to create an ERP on top of Salesforce, you obviously need to get Salesforce, which is extremely expensive. Okay, then you need to get Financial Force, which is also very extremely expensive. And then finally, a Rootstock and then a compliance quest, your licensing fee is going to be all over the place. And by the way, you probably would need more. If you're a manufacturing company, this is probably not going to be enough for you. You probably need more apps, to survive. So overall, Rootstock is created for that Salesforce experience. It started as the MRP, on top of Salesforce. Their target market, for the most part, has been the companies that really care for that CRM experience, and typically those are going to be very customer-facing organization, and that is going to be companies that are in the engineer-to-order space that have very deep project management functionality, because Salesforce natively had that, inbuilt as part of its core, right? Salesforce had one of the best CPQ. So obviously, Rootstock tried to utilize all of these, feature set and functionality, and they try to create something on top of it. Surprisingly enough, they have really strong MRP. Okay, they also have very strong distribution functionality. Okay, so we are going to review all of that, and we are going to see where they are winning at this point of time. Personally, I have competed with them, or participated in deals where they were present. They participated in a lot of food and beverage deals, which was shocking for me, to be honest, because if you look at the product, they are not really food and beverage solution as such. Okay, but they used to, and I don't know if they were afraid to compete with the discrete solutions, but they have a very strong solution, to be honest. Okay, for the discrete market, but for some reason I never saw them in the discrete deals that we were sort of participating. The other, we are going to review this. They are also targeting the cannabis business for some reason, which is slightly more process centric. Food and beverage, all of the verticals that we are going to have are going to be discrete, but just one vertical is going to be cannabis. So we are going to review all of that. But from the briefing perspective, did we cover everything that we typically cover for Rootstock? Dave, Phil?
Yeah, I think so, Sam. Go ahead, Phil.
I was just going to add to that, Sam. I'll be really interested in this next half hour plus here, how they fit, because I think you covered it, and it's I had a chance to evaluate these guys. We didn't end up going with them, but like you say, they're trying to fit. They were trying to fit a niche with MRP, and now that they're expanding out a little bit, I'm just very interested to see how they fit with the other solutions that really have to be built around them in order to take advantage.
Yeah, honestly speaking, when I look at the solution, it looks really rich. I was surprised. I mean, I just didn't know that it was going to be this rich, but the solution looks very rich. And I was trying to find out, okay, what are going to be their patches? Because if it is going to be this rich, then why are they not competing with companies like Infor or Epicor, which obviously they don't compete, and obviously there are shortcomings right now. If you look at the product, I mean, it's not going to be comparable with Infor or Epicor. But this is a great solution if you really love Salesforce. You want to do everything inside Salesforce. So we are going to review that.
Sam, and I don't recall seeing, you mentioned about them showing up in some of the food and beverage engagements that you've been a part of, but I don't recall seeing that as one of their industries that they highlight.
Exactly. Yeah, that's my surprise as well. I mean, the only industry that is closest to food and beverage is going to be cannabis, as I have mentioned. But I think they are trying to target more of the distribution, retail centric, the cannabis, not really the manufacturing, because I just didn't see any sort of, formula or any functionality that is going to be applicable for the food and bev business. But for some reason, they were competing in food and beverage. I have no idea why.
Yeah, I've always had the impression that Rootstock was obviously success is being off the coattails of Salesforce, but their functionality regarding a manufacturer is more to long run, repetitive type manufacturing.
That could be true as well. We are going to review the capabilities. Yes and no, I would say, because my understanding is that I think they do really well in the building materials space. That's their sweet spot. The reason why this is their sweet spot is, number one, they have really strong CPQ, which is a need for the windows and doors manufacturer, any of the engineer to order manufacturer that are going to have slightly more project centric manufacturing. But the comment that you are trying to mention, I think the automotive is actually going to fit in that umbrella as well. But they don't do well in automotive because they don't have MES. They have really strong scheduling component. I like the way scheduling is done. I would say this is one of the best so far that I have seen. The way they have done the scheduling, so they might be able to work with the custom manufacturing space and the custom shop. And Andy, I think your next comment is going to be, which is your favorite comment, which is going to be, can you create a part without part number? If you can do that, then this is probably going to be really beautiful solution. I don't know if that is possible because this is the MRP solution, as you know. I just could not find any information if you are able to do that in Rootstock. Obviously, a lot of ERP systems struggle with that.
Commonly systems that are MRP centric are reliant on part numbers.
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, I will probably like to hear from Phil or Dave what they have seen. I mean, my ERP community gets very passionate when they look at the custom manufacturing, and for them, the requiring the part number is very tricky. So Phil and Dave, from your experience when you worked in custom manufacturing, did you always need to create the part? Did you have situations where you just cannot afford to create the part because the part is going to be thrown away? And most ERP systems have that limitation that you cannot really create a bomb unless you have the part number. So, I mean, you guys have been in job shop. You guys have been in the custom manufacturing situations. So what is your take on this? Should you always require the part number, or would you look for the ERP system that does not require the part number for the bomb creation?
You want to go first, David?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Phil. I would say from my perspective, depending on the situation, I could make an argument either way, right? If you have a situation where you don't have the ability to create the part number, or you don't need to for whatever reason, and you want to treat it as like a pre-flush situation, I would say in some situations that's okay. In the majority of the situations, I would make the argument to create the part number. So while I feel like you could go either way with it based on the specifics of that exact situation, I would say more times than not, leaning towards creating the part number. It's a better default. There's more controls in place. You don't have the same, you have better visibility when you go through that extra process of creating the part. And, again, in my experience, that's what I would probably lean to. So Phil, I don't know if you have something to add to that.
Yeah. So if you're building the project or building to order, there has to be some control number at the end, a project number. There's a number out there anyway. So I kind of echo off.
There'll be a project number. Agreed.
Yeah. So if that's all you have, so if you just say that's all you have is a project number that you built these individual SKUs up to for whatever was needed on that project, to me, it comes down to a lack of control. And I think David mentioned that. So downstream, do you want to be able to recreate that? Do you want to be able to understand the costing of that on a decent way of doing it? And I personally think, yes, you do, unless it's a very small job shop and you're just running, job ops or something just to run your job shop. But I think you do want to have that be a part number for traceability, for return, for warranty, for recall, for redoing the similar things that you did on that for a future job. 100 reasons, better costing, better control. You should have a part number. Do you need to have a part number to be in business? No, you don't. You cannot do it, and you can still be technically in business and moving forward. So, Andy, I'll let you push back on any of that.
I agree with both of you, and Sam for that matter too. It depends on the specific environment. If they are a true ETO one-off manufacturer that does not make the same thing again, then it's a waste of time. If they do plan to be making that again, that product or the subassembly sometime in the future, yes, and you do want a part number. But in those environments where they do one-offs, it's nice to have the alternative where you don't have to have the part number.
Okay, guys, so just from my sake, I mean, I have been kicked out from the premises of a company because they felt that I did not understand how their business worked, to be honest. Okay, I have a real story. So here, and I can understand their emotions as well, why they kicked me out. So they kicked me out, and this is the business that Andy is talking about. So these are the ETO companies where they are going to be manufacturing, for example, signs. Okay, when you are in the sign manufacturing business, each sign is going to be unique. Each sign is probably going to have the unique manufacturing process. They might have a little bit of template, but for the most part, they are going to be very unique. So in their case, their argument is always going to be in the estimating and quoting, that when I'm estimating or quoting a sign, I don't even know if I'm ever going to produce. So why am I creating this part number, in the ERP system? But at the same time, these are the companies that really care for the previous estimates. If you ask any engineer, okay, who has any experience with the ETO estimation, here is what they are going to say. Give me all your previous estimates. Otherwise, I have no ability to be able to estimate this product. Okay. So how are you going to find the previous estimate if you don't really track that as the job or as the part number? So Andy, I think.
Yeah, gentlemen, listen, we're here to talk about Rootstock, but just one more comment. We all know you don't just need a part number to find historical information. These are relational databases.
Yes and no. I think the costing, when your costing is going to be tied to your part, the estimations are going to be tied to that. There is a lot that goes on, I guess. Okay, so we are going to continue this.
We need to have a show on this debate only.
Okay, so we are going to continue this in the other session, but today, let's continue with Rootstock, and we are going to find if they have any sort of, indication if they can support that, because it seems like the solution is really designed for custom manufacturing. At least that's how I perceived, their solution. So here they are saying, you know what, Rootstock is a modern cloud-based ERP solution built on the market leading Salesforce cloud platform, designed exclusively for manufacturers, distributors, and the supply chain organization. I think they are the second ERP company that have really used the supply chain organization word. The first one was QAD, and the reason why QAD was using it because they had a lot of vendor collaboration, functionality. They also had international trade management functionality, but obviously Rootstock is not going to have all of that. But they have used the supply chain term, so obviously they are going after the community aspect that Salesforce is trying to invest their dollars in Slack. So obviously that's going to be, far richer communities overall from the vendor collaboration perspective. That's what they are trying to go after. I found very, very, very unique elements in this ERP, and that is products as a service. Okay, I don't know whether you guys are familiar with an industry called subscription box industry. Okay, that's part of your e-commerce. So in case of e-commerce, if you are trying to buy something, as your e-commerce purchase, that's your traditional commerce. But the subscription box business model, what they do is, hey, I am buying a bottle of milk every week. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to be subscribing just like Netflix, that $10 a month, I can order up to 5 or 6 or whatever I need. So that's the subscription-based business model. That's a very unique business model. A lot of businesses are trying that. Okay. And there are very few ERP systems that can really support that. And Rootstock is one of them because Salesforce can support all of these business models natively. So Rootstock is trying to capitalize on that. They have claimed, just like any other ERP system, they are built to stock, engineered to order, configured to order, project based. It's all over the place. They are saying that I can pretty much work with any manufacturing, but each solution is going to have their own strengths and weaknesses. So we are going to review, okay, which are going to be the patches that are going to be the strongest fit for them. So here, the other thing that they have mentioned is they can create tailored mobile applications. Guys, I have looked at their mobile applications. It's as slick as your Salesforce, which is a massive experience. Okay, I mean Salesforce, I would say Acumatica, apps are pretty good. I have personally used them. Salesforce, Acumatica could be the closest that is going to be closer to Salesforce, but obviously Salesforce is one of the best, because of their object hierarchy, the way the native mobile experience we have as part of your Salesforce. I'm pretty sure NetSuite is probably going to have similar. So any of the cloud native platforms are going to have the native mobile experience. But in case of Rootstock, their app is one of the best. Okay, you don't need another WMS system. They can do that natively, which is commendable. They are saying add customer supplier communities. When I looked at their communities, it almost looks like portals, to be honest. They didn't appear as communities. For me, when I look at the community, I am looking for something like Slack. Okay, I can literally, engage with people. I can create channels. I can create conversation. I can also buy product. I can look at my invoices. That's the community experience that I am looking for. But in their case, even though they are sort of branding it as the community, but they are barely portals the way any other ERP companies are going to have the portals. I just could not see, and we are going to verify that using these screenshots. All using clicks and not code. Their no-code platform is one of the best in my experience so far that I have personally reviewed. Here, they are saying companies achieve maximum synergy ROI when they deploy Rootstock ERP with Salesforce CRM together on the Salesforce platform. This includes real-time connections with the Salesforce Manufacturing Cloud. Now, a lot of people are going to be confused. Okay, what is Salesforce Manufacturing Cloud and why do I need Rootstock ERP? So Salesforce Manufacturing Cloud is the manufacturing flavor of CRM. So it is going to have a lot of processes from the manufacturing business perspective, but that is not to say that that is an ERP. It ends when your CRM processes are going to end, which is going to be code. Okay, code is the boundary for your CRM process. Anything after that must happen inside your ERP if you are trying to create omni-channel architecture. If you are going to be all over the place, then good luck with that architecture. It's not going to work as expected. But typically this is the boundary that works best. If you are trying to create the omni-channel architecture. Now, here obviously you have the Salesforce Service Cloud, you have Salesforce CPQ, Salesforce e-commerce. Okay, Salesforce e-commerce is one of the best in commerce. So obviously they are trying to go after all of these companies, and the companies that are actually going for Salesforce e-commerce, I think Rootstock could be an amazing choice in general. And then you have the Salesforce field service, and their field service component is very strong as well in general. So you have these four elements along with Rootstock, which is an amazing combination. So now your question is going to be, okay, what else is missing? What do I need? Can I simply go for Salesforce and Rootstock and, every business, can I host on Rootstock? That's exactly what we are going to review next. What is going to be missing overall from the ERP portfolio? I can take any comments, but here, from the industry perspective, if you look at the functionality, obviously it feels that they can probably work with most manufacturing, but they have identified just some verticals where they have the logos, and that's probably the reason why they have identified only those verticals. So here they have aerospace and defense. Guys, one of the things that we have noticed, the clear differentiator between Appicore and Infor, okay, is the quality module. That's also the differentiator between your Acumatic and NetSuite. None of them really own the quality module, okay, because they are not trying to go after these regulated verticals, which requires quality module, because quality is going to be your central piece, or centerpiece of the processes. So here they rely on a vendor-owned add-on, which is going to be Compliance Quest, to be able to do the quality. They don't have the quality built as part of the platform. So aerospace and defense, if you actually click on that, then you are going to see, okay, quality, Compliance Quest. So now that's add-on, that's not native, right? So they are not going to be as strong on the aerospace. Now, when we look at the cannabis business, in my opinion, I think that's an outlier here. Okay, they should not be targeting cannabis, because their product is not really designed for that, unless these cannabis businesses are going for the commerce experience. They are going for, I don't know, CPQ experience. I mean, I don't know why they would go for that. Maybe there are businesses that care for CPQ functionality in case of cannabis, but it doesn't seem to be a fit. Engineer to order is the right fit for Rootstock. Job and machine shops, that's a very interesting vertical. There is a lot of competition in that space. The way they do the inventory is very different. Here we are talking about, I am very strong in MRP, and the job shops that I know, they don't do any MRP whatsoever.
They don't do MRP.
They don't understand what inventory means.
No. Tell
You
me
know,
something, Sam. Are you saying that Rootstock does have a quality module or does not?
does not.
Okay, so it's a bolt-on or whatever the case. But does Acumatica?
Acumatica does not own the quality module either.
No, it's a bolt-on as well. But
It's a bolt-on as well. Yeah.
Infor's obviously owns their own. Does
That's the-
Epicor?
Epicor does not own the quality module.
It's
They
a
own
bolt-on. Okay, gotcha.
they own the MES component. You know,
Yes,
again,
correct.
the patches that they are trying to target, they are not trying to target the regulated ones because
Gotcha.
their solution is slightly more distribution centric. You know, when you are going to
Yes.
have business that is going to be manufacturing plus distribution, a manufacturing solution is not going to work. Okay, when you have core manufacturing, deep in manufacturing, that does not work in distribution. It's a really bad fit, and that's where your quality is going to be really important for those businesses. So there is a clear distinction between the market, the way market is structured, and the patches that these companies are trying to target. So here you have the medical device manufacturers, and if you look at the
It's the
manufacturer,
same thing as aerospace and defense, though. Right?
exactly,
And
the only
same thing as automotive, too, for that matter.
right. So the only reason why they are able to rule the medical device manufacturer, because companies that are using Salesforce, they are most
Yeah.
likely using Compliance Quest, and
Just-
Rootstock is trying to go after them. Hey,
Right.
you already have 2 products from my portfolio.
Makes sense.
Can I buy one more?
Makes sense.
Okay, that's how they are trying to penetrate. But from the product perspective, medical device manufacturing is probably not as great fit. You know, just because they are not going to have all the bells and whistles from the ERP perspective. The only reason why they are buying is because the CRM processes are so strong that they probably would require the Salesforce and Compliance Quest. And then they are thinking that I'm already on 2 products from Salesforce. How about I take one more?
Sam, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
I have my own opinions and I won't offer them right now. But what's the value or the benefits of an ERP that includes quality versus one that requires a bolt-on?
Well, so it's very subjective, right? The way you think about your processes. But the way I like to personally think is, what is the critical success factor for you? Okay, in terms of your business model. Is quality the critical success factor for you? If that is the case, if that is make or break for your business, you better have your vendor own that code, because tomorrow, let's say if Epicor or Rootstock is going to lose the relationship, or if they are not able to maintain the integration that is going to be required, because you still have 2 different databases, you have 2 different contracts, you have 2
Yeah.
different vendors. You are
We've
talking
seen that
about-
happen so many times.
Yeah, exactly.
Acquisitions, whatever. Yeah.
Exactly. So there are a lot of different moving parts. So your preference should always be to go for the vendor-owned codes. Vendor-owned code meaning OEM-owned code. So the publisher that is providing the ERP system, the most code they own, the less risk you are going to have overall from your ERP implementation perspective. But that is not to say that that is the only choice, because the vendor-owned code could be really bad. And then you are trying to compare
If
with something
everything's
else.
equal, then you want to go with the one vendor.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Overall, from the risk perspective, so we have reviewed there. One of the highlighted.
Sam, I'm compelled to weigh in on that. So that I agree, that's the most important. But there's another component, especially in some of these mid-market spaces, where let's say quality is really important, and you have Salesforce.
Yeah.
The other weighing on that is that if you buy a best-in-class quality module, that would be better than if Rootstock tried to get into that and put it native on their system, and that's not really what they're good at.
Absolutely, assuming the integration is clean.
So
right? That's
my comment
you
is
got 2
going to be,
databases, you know what the situation is.
people don't realize how difficult an integration could be, to be honest, Phil. Okay, I live this space, so I know how hard integration is. Sometimes integration is harder than building the ERP product. Because the way the communication flows are going to work, the way your source of authority works, the way syncing process works. Okay, it's just a nightmare.
But Sam, the marketing brochure says it's easy.
Exactly. That's why I'm not in marketing, right? Okay.
But Sam, you said it right, though, right out at the gate, just to not disagree with you on the core point. Determining what's most important for your business, and then making sure that functionality is the center of what you're buying is super important.
Exactly. Guys, do you have any other follow-up comments, questions? No? Okay. So here we have reviewed, one of their highlighted customer. We wanted to make sure that we are understanding the kind of, customers they are working with. For the most part, they are really small in general. So, when you look at the offering, when you look at the, overall screens, it feels as if they can do a lot, to be honest. Okay, they have multi-company functionality. I just could not find anything that they cannot do. So sometimes it's sort of shocking for me. Okay, can it work with anybody? Then why are they not winning in those spaces? So then if you review the customer, okay, look at the customer size. So when you are going to review that, that's very small. And if their highlighted customer is going to be the sort of on the smaller side, then most likely that's their play. That's their spot. It's not going to be very large companies in general.
Well, it's really interesting that, first off, 16 employees. That's amazing they can afford Salesforce.
36.
Oh, 36.
Yeah.
Oh, pardon me. Oh, yeah, 36. Well, still, it's pretty small. But complex manufacturing, 36 employees, that's usually not in line.
Yeah.
Unless it's all subcontracted.
But companies do have, they pay a lot of money to Salesforce, and that's why Salesforce is making a lot of money in the market. So companies are fine paying it to Salesforce. For some reason, they don't like to pay to the ERP companies. That's the reality of the market.
Yeah, you're dead on with that. Yeah.
Okay, so here we are going to review their screens, and I always like to look at the information architecture, the way their information is organized on the screen, because that dictates which businesses are going to be right fit for this ERP solution. So here, this is a pure Salesforce experience. You can clearly see this is, Lightning. Obviously Lightning is amazing. There's no question about that. So you have the PO line. It's not going to be as limiting as some of the systems that we have reviewed. Next World, Odoo, as we have seen, they did not really have as rich functionality as Rootstock. Rootstock has far more organized architecture, the way I personally like to see in an ERP system. So this is going to be slightly similar to your Acumatica NetSuite. It has all of those, organizational hierarchy. For example, if you look at the order status, there are multiple of them. You have multiple PO lines. You have multiple contexts. Some systems try to limit that. You have multiple PO receipt transaction. I don't know if they can do one-to-n scenario. Those are typically going to be the limit as well. When we look at, okay, when you are trying to consolidate the order and then going for the shipment, can you process this one-to-one or is it one-to-n? And that's where the real differentiator is between a baby ERP system versus a massive ERP system. They are really good at those one-to-n scenarios, because when you are going to grow your operations, that's where you are going to be gaining a lot of efficiency. If you have to literally print each sales order, then go and pick your product and then go print your label and then ship your box. In the B2C space, if you are in, good luck with that business model. You are not going to go very far. So that's where the real differentiator is. So based on the way their screens are structured, seems like it is very well designed from the product perspective. And the other products, such as your, we have seen in the ECI portfolio, we have seen this in case of your DCOM, I guess, it's going to be limiting. I don't think it's as well built product in those one-to-n scenarios. We have seen this limitation in case of Odoo as well. I think Odoo is a baby product for the smaller companies, but when you are going to grow your operation, that's when you are going to realize the challenges. But overall, when I look at the PO screen, I get the feeling of NetSuite or Acumatica, but with the flavor of Salesforce, which is phenomenal. Here, this is the no-code experience that I was talking about. So typically, Phil or Dave, if you guys don't have as much programming experience, if you are actually going to look at any of the no-code platform, I can almost guarantee that you guys will faint. Okay, that's how difficult it gets. Okay, here it's very intuitive the way this is designed. It's very readable. As you can see, you are literally pulling a screen. You are designing a bunch of actions. You are doing a bunch of subflows. It's almost like a flow chart. You can do mapping of your messages. This is what I like to see in the no-code platform. A lot of companies are going to claim, including Acumatica, NetSuite, they are going to claim that they have no code. But their no code is not even close to what no code really means. In this case, this is very intuitive for the business user. They can easily design these workflows. Obviously, they still need the programming experience. I don't think anybody can design or develop on top of no code without any programming experience. They still need programming experience, but this is at least easier to follow along. So I absolutely appreciate the no code experience that these guys have provided. And obviously this is going to be far easier. Let's say if I want to build any sort of integration flow, I want to integrate with systems, I can easily do that. This is very, very, very easy. Typically when you are going for any other ERP system, I guess you probably would need to pay a lot for your no code platform. This is probably going to be bundled as part of the Salesforce. It is also going to be bundled as part of your Rootstock license. So obviously that's a huge benefit. Now this is the community that they were talking about. Okay, now if you actually look at it, to be honest, I mean, it's worse than your vendor portals that we typically see in very, very, very legacy platforms. Okay, so obviously this is not as pretty. Any of the ERP system probably can do a better job than this, and they are calling this as community. It's not even close to community. That's just a marketing hype. Here I think they have simply created the vendor portal, which is great. But this is going to be similar to any other vendor portals, whether you talk about Acumatica, NetSuite, Info, Epicor. They are fairly similar. They look very clunky. You are not going to get that e-commerce experience. If you are a B2C shop, you cannot have this website. Nobody's going to come to your website if you're going to have this. So yeah, I mean, I just didn't see the e-commerce experience that I personally like to see in the consumer-centric websites. So here it's just a vendor portal or the customer portal that they are trying to position, but they are naming it as communities. Okay, this is their the capacity planning, the scheduling screen. And guys, I mean, I'm blown away, to be honest. Okay, the way it appears, it's one of the best so far that I have personally seen. It's very well designed. The way any production operator would like to see. In fact, you are actually going to see some of the commentary later in the slides if we have time, that people really like the production aspect of Rootstock for some reason. Okay, they like the front facing. Your guess is going to be, since this is on Salesforce, everybody is going to love the front end part, but they actually appreciated the production part, and I agree with them, because the production part is one of the best. These screens, if you are going to look review in any of the legacy ERP systems, that are not cloud native, it's going to appear very clunky in general. Okay, this looks very modern. So obviously the production people absolutely love it. You have the work orders, you have the dates, you can do the capacity based on the operations, you can have the days, you can design your capacity, it's going to have your green and red. I don't know what else you are going to ask for, when you look at the capacity planning.
Let me ask a question,
Yep.
Sam. Commonly MRP-centric ERPs, when they show scheduling, it's infinite scheduling.
Yeah.
Is that what this is?
Most likely.
Okay.
I don't think they have been clear, in terms of whether it is finite or not, but most likely they are probably
infinite.
It's
probably infinite. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So if you guys have any other comments, if you can take those. Otherwise, by the way, on that comment, infinite and finite, Epicor and 4, they are probably known for really strong scheduling, and they both support the finite scheduling. So obviously the systems that are really designed for lighter manufacturing, they probably are not going to have that. But I mean, the companies that are really strong in that, they need that, because they need to make sure that they are really committing for the capacity that they have available. It's not just a random capacity that is created out of thin air.
Which kind of goes opposite to the previous screen where they were saying what types of companies they chase, because custom and engineered order, and they usually need finite scheduling.
Exactly. And right now we don't have enough data to be able to comment whether they can do that or not based on these screens. I'm not seeing it.
Right.
Maybe they have, maybe they don't.
It's hard to, I agree.
Yeah. Okay. So here, one of the things that I noticed is, they have the change company or division, workflow. So that would say that, they are a multi-entity, functionality. But when you are going to review the accounting features, they are not as strong in accounting, because obviously until 2018, I think they were relying on Financial Force. They did not build the accounting. But then, when you are using add-on, you are going to have all of those challenges, and they had these challenges as well. And finally, they ended up building the accounting functionality as well. But right now their pitch is, hey, if you are using Financial Force, I'll let you use Financial Force. But if you like, use my accounting as well. That's a traditional MRP play. That's how most MRP companies try to position themselves in the market. But again, they don't really have as robust accounting module. They are really the MRP, the production management solution that sits on top of Salesforce. So multi-entity functionality, I would say slightly doubtful. I'm not too sure. They can support multi-company, but really from the production perspective, I'm not too sure from the financial and accounting perspective. So here, if you look at the sample project that they have, positioned in their sample data, typically the sample project is going to be indication of, what kind of businesses you want to go after. So in this particular case, they are going after home project, as you can very clearly see. So obviously that's going to be their play. And from the product perspective, we all know that that's sort of their play. So they are going after these custom ETO, home builder, sign maker, companies. And that's why they have this project identified. And the product looks like, as if it's really designed for ETO companies, to be honest. You have the ECN, you have the scheduling, you can, the way your order statuses are defined. You have the planned, firm, allocated, ready for activity pick list. Now, this is not going to work for distribution. This is really for that custom manufacturing play. So order statuses, speak a lot of different things from the product perspective, what it is really designed for. So if I were to review this is probably going to be a very, custom manufacturing and the engineer to order centric play. Here, we so again the scheduling, I think it's very, very, very rich, to be honest. Okay, I completely agree with your comment. I'm still not seeing the but Andy, I do have a comment here. So total capacity, if you actually look at, you can set how much capacity you have available for each of the machines, but that's probably not the actual capacity for each of the machine. So I don't know if it is infinite or finite, but you have a room to play in terms of doing those what if scenarios, in terms of your capacity. So I don't know how, but it's definitely far easier to follow.
Maybe it's more targeted at projects, possibly,
Yeah.
like work breakdown structures.
Yeah, that's my perception so far. That's my perception. So they have the ECO master header, ECO master detail, engineering, item master, engineering item revisions. Obviously, these companies are going to have a lot of that. You have they have the BOM copy, indented BOM that you might not see in a lot of different ERP systems. Okay, and typically when you are copying the BOM, you're literally copying the whole manufacturing process. A lot of simpler ERP systems, they just don't have that, because that's a very heavy lift overall from the operation perspective, from the system perspective. So they have that, which is great. Anything else that you guys notice? Now, you are going to notice that they have the inspection tab here. Now, inspection could be perceived as
and test too.
Sorry, what's that?
Test as well.
They have
test and inspection.
Yeah, so I don't know if this particular piece of code is going to be owned by compliance class, because it's very hard to find out from the screen. Because what they could have done is they could have enabled these tabs, but that is actually sourced by a code owned by another vendor. I don't know. So it could be tricky unless you look at the contract, unless you look at how these screens are constructed, who really owns the code. Unless they write it on a legal paper, it's very, very, very hard to find out. Okay, once you start using the system, then only you will know who really owns the code. Because if you have to develop anything on top of it, then you are going to have a lot of vendor firefighting. They are going to say, hey, you are not supposed to touch my table. These guys are going to say, okay, you have touched my table now. You are not responsible for support. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Okay, so I am actually going to move to the next one. And this is the mobile experience that I was talking about. Guys, I am completely blown away. To be honest, I have not seen something like this. I mean, I think they have the QR capabilities, which is phenomenal. I mean, QR codes by itself, I mean, they can increase the efficiency of your warehouse by 5-fold just by implementing QR code. You don't have to do anything else. Okay, because you can literally read them from very long distance. You can do crazy scenarios with QR code, but 90% of the businesses, they just don't know how to implement this. Here, you are probably going to be, scanning each of the code one at a time. QR code can store a lot of, information. So if they are able to do that, phenomenal. I have not seen that inbuilt as part of any other ERP system so far. They have some very advanced functionality, such as lot expiration. That is also a slightly more advanced feature. So obviously they are working in that space. And the reason why they have the lot control is because the places where compliance quest is going to be, you require the underlying lot and serial number support. And sometimes in the pharma space, you probably require both. And there are very few ERP systems that can support both. Even the systems such as Acumatica, I'm not too sure about NetSuite. I think they are going to struggle. They can support only one number. Okay. I think I'm not.
Say that again, please, Sam. I'm sorry.
So in case of pharma, you require 2 or 3 numbers that go
at least. Yes.
So that is going to be your lot number. That is also going to be your serial number. Okay. So typically, a lot of systems struggle with that process, and that's why you have ERP systems such as BlueLink ERP in the pharma space that really dominate that space. The reason why they dominate is because these ERP systems struggle with having the serial number and the lot number as part of the same label that you are trying to print on a bottle. So now, I don't know whether Rootstock can do that, but since they are operating in compliance quest space, my assumption is going to be they can probably do that. The other problem that we typically see is the pre-assigned serial number, pre-assigned lot number. That is typically very limiting in a lot of different ERP systems. They don't have that. I think Acumatica introduced pre-assigned lot number, serial number. They did not have that. I don't think they can still do the serial number and lot number together. The way their screens are structured, you can have only one number. In case of NetSuite, I'm not too sure. But that's a very critical piece of functionality for pharma when you are operating in those spaces. Your ERP system is not going to work because you don't have the underlying plumbing, and then a lot of functionality might reside in your spreadsheet, or they might build the custom workflows. The ERP system is not going to work for their needs. Okay, so here we have the multi-company structure where you can do the drop down of multiple companies and division. It looks pretty, to be honest, okay, based on the way these chart of accounts are structured. But again, I don't know how deep this functionality is. Their GL screen looks very neat, but I would be doubtful if they are going to be as strong in the financial functionality as some of the other ERP systems, because their core was always that manufacturing MRP production. Okay, so we have some more screens here. This is the customer screen. Now, customer screen looks very, very, very slick. Okay, you have the warranties, as you can clearly see. You have the expired warranties. You have the serial number, date originally sold. But again, this is not going to be the same OEM warranty that your systems like Infor will be able to support. When you have these multiple products that actually go along with the warranty, typically there is going to be a relationship between all of those products and how their warranty is going to be provided and who is supposed to be serving all of those warranties. For example, let's say if you talk about car, in case of car, each of the part may carry their own warranty. They might have their own serial number. They might have their own life cycle for the warranty. And that's where the nuances are when it comes to the depth of the ERP system and for which business it is designed for. Here, I am not saying if it can really work for those patches, but it does have warranty, it does have serial number. But again, the warranty could be very involved as well overall from the business process perspective.
Yeah, on this one, Sam, it's really interesting, the combination, right? They've got AR balance, they've got the warranty piece, they've got the return information, and they've got the opportunity funnel. So that it's pulling from Salesforce, it's pulling from a financial module, and it's also pulling from ERP functionality on some level all at the same time. It's pretty interesting.
I agree. I mean, that's the best part, to be honest. I mean, that's what I like about this system, that, you can tie all of these things together. Typically, that is very, very, very hard, to manage in one system. If you are going to be integrating this, utilizing some other ERP system, you are looking at very expensive bill. So obviously, Rootstock is amazing in that. But again, I don't know how deep they are going to be in the core accounting, core MRP. No, MRP is great, but I don't know the core accounting. I think that's where I would struggle in the quality and the way their processes are structured to support, let's say, very complex manufacturing, such as your OEM manufacturing, when you are producing cars, I don't know if they are really the right fit. Okay, so here they are saying, okay, you have the line, let's look at the product. So obviously this is the lot number item that they have mentioned. You have the product configurator, which is great because that's their core. They are going in that engineer to order space where the products are not going to be as big as a car. They are probably going to be windows, doors. They are going to require quality, but quality is not as threatening as some of the regulated spaces, where quality is your bread and butter. Then you have the commission detail. So you have the Salesforce comp. Again, that's very tricky. So if you look at the data structure of Salesforce, obviously it's very rich. When you talk about the territory planning, when you talk about sales comp planning, when you talk about how to design your sales org, I don't think there is any other system out there as rich as Salesforce. So you are getting all of that, and then you are inheriting, as part of your production. So obviously anything related to sales is probably going to be top. You are looking at the enterprise grade functionality here. But overall, if you actually look at the sales order, I think it's very lean. I can only see 4 tabs here. Typically at the sales order level, I'm looking at roughly 20 screens, in the other ERP system. So there is something missing. I'm not too sure what is missing. There is definitely something missing here. Okay. So now let's go for the capacity planning workbench. So you can probably do the planning, for how many ever days. But Andy, I think you are right. I'm still not seeing the finite capacity planning. I don't know if they have that, but you can definitely do the what if scenarios that we have seen so far. But I still like their production and the scheduling, to be honest. This is one of the best that I have personally seen. Now, let's look at some of the feature set that they are trying to claim. So they have mentioned, in case of your costing, average and standard costing. So I don't know if they can support all of the different costings. Typically, there are going to be 4 or 5. So they have very clearly spelled out average and standard costing. And, I don't know if it is because they are, as we know, the accounting functionality is not as rich. So maybe they just don't have all of those costing bells and whistles that you are going to require. I just don't know whether they can support that or not.
Well, going back to that comment or that screen when it had the different types of companies they target, aerospace and defense almost always is FIFO actual. Average and standard, again, that kind of implies more product type manufacturing than customer ETO.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe they wanted to sort of be concise in the marketing material. That's why they didn't want to mention everything. But, they might have, they might not have. But that could be one of the limitations. Overall, I think the limitation is going to be in those costing, accounting, financial workflows. That's not their core.
They can say quality at the bottom there, Sam.
Tricky. Okay. So when you are going to look at this, you don't know whether that is the white labeled product that they are trying to source from a vendor, or so they might claim that, because they can sell on their papers, because they might have an agreement with a vendor. But you need to really understand these arrangements. If you don't, then obviously you are going to be in trouble if they lose that relationship. And again, it requires a very expert eye to be able to find these things. You really need to be able to dig into the code and screens to be able to find these things. Otherwise, you'll never know. Your vendors are never going to tell you unless you ask them to write them on the legal papers, which is very rare. Okay, so they have the subcontractor management. You are not going to find subcontractor management in a lot of different ERP systems, especially if they are designed for the distribution-centric businesses. This, Rootstock, the way they like to position themselves, as you can see, they can do MRP and DRP. Okay, so that means they are trying to position for both of those. So I don't know if Epicor likes to claim MRP and DRP both. They try to carry 2 products. Okay, one for distribution, they still are carrying even in the cloud world, and one for manufacturing, because your manufacturing is never going to be the same business as your distribution. You might have a little bit of overlap, but manufacturing business is not same as your distribution. So here my perception is going to be that it's going to really work for the engineer to order. It's going to be really good fit for those commerce companies, distribution companies, but complex manufacturing, not too sure. estimates, quotes, and the subscriptions. I think subscription is where they have real deep functionality. By the way, license plating, guys. Okay, license plating. I don't know. Acumatica may have that. NetSuite probably not
It's
too
usually
sure.
not found unless you have a true WMS system.
Exactly. So these guys actually have the license plating, and again, their WMS, the mobile capabilities are very, very deep and very rich, and that's what impresses me about this product. If you are buying for core distribution, you are going to get a lot out of the box. I'm not too sure about the accounting piece, the costing piece, the contracts, the way your vendor agreements are done, the way your pricing fluctuations are going to be tracked inside ERP. I don't know if you can do all of that. But you are going to get a lot more from the supply chain and the production planning perspective.
I was going to mention, Sam, as you switch, when you were looking at the scanning functionality, I was going to mention that, that's real close to having that capability on the scanning side of license plating. So maybe they have license plating, as far as grouping, put away, things like that in there, even though they're not calling it out.
Exactly. So our assumption is that they actually have the license plating as part of their core offering, which I personally have not seen in a lot of different ERP systems, to be honest. Okay, you require a WMS system. If you want to do license plating, and license plating for most companies, even if they are going to have very small, just one warehouse, most operations manager do require the license plating functionality. And that's probably the reason why, if you actually go to SAP, you are never going to find WMS functionality as part of the core ERP. They don't even touch that. They don't even allow the scanning. I mean, even if you want to scan the barcode, you probably need the WMS add-on. And the reason why they do that is most of the businesses that SAP is working with, they probably require, a WMS system. So, I mean, if you are looking at true efficiency in the WMS scenario, then you probably require a specialized system, even if you are going to be a very small business. But if you are getting out of the box, pre-integrated, as part of your Acumatica NetSuite, as well as Rootstock, that's gold for these smaller businesses if you don't have that money to be able to afford that integration. Device history record. I mean, some of the things that I noticed on this one, which is, again, I think that is coming from your compliance quest. I don't know if these guys natively can support that, or maybe that is actually coming from the telecom, because they actually do a lot of work in the telecom space. So the service component that they are going to have a lot of history from the device perspective. So they are able to utilize some of that functionality. But obviously that's a great feature set if you're going to be very strong in the service component as well. So you have the contracts, you have the case management, you have the field service, and the customer communities. And overall, if you actually look at the organizational model, it looks as if it's the true multi-entity solution, but I don't think it's even close to competing with some of the multi-entity ERP system if you are talking about true ERP system, because you are not going to get the finance bells and whistles that you are going to get in case of your NetSuite Acumatica. Here on this one, this is the screen that I really wanted to cover as part of this one. So in this one, they are saying, hey, seamless integration with other financial systems. And they have highlighted Workday and QuickBooks. So this is the place that they are really trying to compete. And this we have seen in case of Plex as well. Okay, Plex likes to go with financial force because their accounting is not as strong. So all of these MRP companies that grew as the MRP, okay, they all are trying to partner with companies like Sage and Tech, Financial Force, because they are core accounting solution, right? They don't really have that production functionality, and that's how they are trying to compete with the manufacturing solution. But when you try to add too thick add-ons, you are going to get a lot of challenges. So if you are getting one product in one box from one vendor, obviously that's going to be superior than buying two different products. In this particular case, they can integrate with one of the top systems, but again, you have the integration. Integration is always the trickiest part in any ERP implementation in general. All right, guys, so that's it. I can take some comments from you guys. Dave, Phil, Andy.
Yeah. So, well, Sam, I thought this was, you covered this one really well. And I think I think there's about 80% understanding of where my original question was. I think I have a better understanding of where they fit. That last slide kind of threw me for a little bit of a loop again, because we went from all of the functionality I have. I mean, from license plating, warehouse management, multiple scanning labels on a single label, scanning on a single label, and some really good production planning and scheduling, combining information from different modules to one thing. And then we ended with, well, you really need these other platforms part of the time anyway. So I'm a little conflicted on whether it's trying to be a standalone or it's trying to be niche MRP grown up with more functionality where you really need some more stuff gathered around it.
The devil's in the details.
Yeah, as we continue to learn, right, Andy?
Yeah.
I agree with where you're at with it, Phil. I mean, that I saw that when I was reviewing the deck earlier today, and I was hoping we were going to get to that slide because it was a bit of an eye opener. You know, the other kind of standout for me, and Sam, you talked about a little early on with their play in the cannabis space. And so, obviously, you know, being interested in that vertical, I dug a little bit deeper into what their offering was, and I think you kind of hit it early on. Where if they're strong on the distribution side, the one particular case study that they have illustrated, specifically in cannabis, is one of the largest cannabis, companies that's out there. And so they are, they're basically growing through acquisition, and they are building out their entire supply chain. So that kind of play all makes sense, and it's a great case study and showcase with having one of the largest companies utilizing your product. So.
Yeah, I learned a ton today. You know, I never thought of Rootstock as being that strong of a product. And of course, like I said, devil's in details. You don't know how deep some of these things are, but on the surface, it looks, and it's very attractive.
Yeah. Any other comments, guys? Yeah. I think I agree with you, Dave, especially when you talk about the cannabis business. From my experience, the only reason why they are able to go after those businesses, as we all know, cannabis businesses, have had a lot of money at one time. After that, they had to really struggle. At that time, they were going after, one of the best solutions in the market, just because when you have too much money, you can afford to spend. So that was one of the reasons. And the other reason is Compliance Quest, to be honest. Okay, Compliance Quest is really one of the best compliance and the quality solution. Okay, it's very, very, very rich. They also like to do a lot of development on top of that, to be honest, for most businesses that I have personally seen. It's going to be a thick development. It's not going to be as out of the box as you are going to get with some other ERP systems. But, any ERP system is probably going to require some sort of custom development. So that could be the reason why Salesforce is able to get in those pharma, med device, cannabis. But again, from my perspective, it does not seem to be very natural fit for the food and bev. It's a very discrete solution, the way solution is structured.
Yeah, the only comment I would have to that is specifically on the cannabis side of things, again, is, the regulatory piece and some of that quality control, which is really the seed to sale regulatory piece, is all third party anyway. So that's really just another bolt-on, if you will. It'll be interesting for that space specifically how some of the quality management ultimately comes into play. I think we won't see that for some time to come as the regulatory side kind of catches up and puts more of a demand in that. And the other component to that is the fact that some states are still only legalized on in the medical market. And so as you see this difference between what states accept medical versus recreational, I think you'll start to see all of that stuff change. So it'd be interesting in the long term to follow that specifically in the ERP space.
I agree. Any other short comments, guys? We are close to our time. All right, guys. So that's a wrap. Again, I think Rootstock is a great solution if you are really passionate about Salesforce. You should definitely take a look at that. It has very interesting functionality, especially for the configure to order space. It could have very strong functionality even for distribution. But if you really care for that finance and accounting, make sure you are paying attention to, who is owning what in terms of the quality as well as for the accounting. On that note, thank you so much, everybody, for joining today. And if you joined for the first time, this was part of our industry series for which we meet every Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern. We pick one vendor or the solution that we review independently, and we always cover the stories from the week related to ERP and digital transformation. So make sure you are not going to miss next week's show. We are going to be here. On that note, once again, thank you, everybody, for your time and insights today.
Thanks, Sam. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Sam.